It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, John Bourne. John Bourne was appointed Director of the Ohio Department of Public Safety on July 31st, 2013 by Governor John Kasich. He previously served as Colonel and Superintendent of the Ohio State Highway Patrol, capping a 26-year law enforcement career. He holds a Bachelor of Science in Journalism and Master of Social Science and Deviant Behavior degrees from Ohio University. I won't hold that against him. Go Bucks. But he completed the FBI's, I'll go pack up my things right now. No, I'm just kidding. He completed the FBI's National Executive Institute governance training at Harvard Business School and leadership training at the United States Army War College. He has served as chairman of LEADS, Ohio's law enforcement computer network, and previously served for nearly a decade as a trustee and 4 years as chairman of the board of one of Ohio's 5 state pension systems. He has earned the United States Department of Homeland Security Partnership Award, the United States Secret Service Director's Honor Award, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police prestigious J. Stannard Baker Award. He and his wife, Kathy, who have been married for nearly 30 years, have 2 grown children. It is my pleasure to welcome our director, John Bourne.
Well, good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Ohio Department of Public Safety. It really is my honor and privilege to stand before you and welcome you on behalf of almost 4,000 employees of the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and really, more importantly, welcome you on behalf of 11.5 million Ohioans who entrust you to tell them what's most important to them and their families. And so, as Lindsay said, I think we have a really good program for you today. And this is fairly unique, although there are PIO organizations around the country at the state level and sometimes at the regional level. Many of you in here are experiencing for the first time this conference or this seminar. And some of you in here are veterans. And that actually is one of the most common things that we see across the United States is the wide range of experiences and backgrounds that bring you into this room. Many of you may know, and some of you I know personally, looking out in the audience, I spent several years, about 7 years as a PIO, as I was coming up through the ranks of the Ohio State Highway Patrol. And part of that was because I have an undergraduate degree in journalism and worked at a newspaper and a radio station waiting for the Highway Patrol to call my number. But as I was mentioning earlier today to someone, 8 months after I took the position as the PIO, and the PIO wasn't necessarily the number one position that people wanted to transfer into in the Highway Patrol, I found myself at the Lucasville prison riot, which became one of the longest prison riots in U.S. history and one of the deadliest and most tragic. But what I found following that experience was the amount of training and the networking among people that shared that same job responsibility that I had was really lacking. And so the Department of Public Safety has now for a number of years been hosting this, and I think that we are just now beginning to see what blooms are beginning to arise as a result of some of those seeds early on. The relationships and the experiences that we can share in this room, and truthfully, more importantly, when you break, are probably just as important as what you're going to hear while you're in this room. I have personally in this position for almost the last year and almost 26 years of law enforcement through critical incidents where tensions are high, lives are at stake, tragedy has already occurred. I've witnessed the power of your words, and I know what you can do. Many times in many organizations, the communication director, or PIO, whatever title you carry, hasn't always been the biggest priority in the organization. Accessing the top level of an administration or accessing information, sometimes you almost feel as if you're an outsider in your own organization. And so groups like this, where you share those experiences and you can share the success stories as well as those failures, provide an opportunity for you not only to learn and grow individually, but as a group and collectively. And last night I was at a meeting till about 9 o'clock on the Ebola that is obviously in the news in not only the United States because of the case in Texas, but throughout the world. And I can tell you that there's probably no one more important in any crisis than you. You provide an opportunity for people to live, You provide an opportunity to improve the quality of life, and you really can tell the measure of your value in a crisis. Your family, my family, your neighbors, your friends, your family will rely upon you to tell the most important information to not only to them, but to those 11.5 million Ohioans that I'm fortunately able to represent today. Today's world and tomorrow's world, there is absolutely no more important function in your organization than what you do. I wouldn't be standing here telling you that if it weren't the truth. We can tell you time and time again, countless examples of how you connect us to the public we serve. There is a slightly selfish reason that we host this and that I'm standing here, because in all likelihood, we're going to be working together at some point in the very near future. And we expect it, we anticipate it, we train for it. And if we're exchanging our business cards with you on that day, it's too late. So today, we hope to get to know you, and more importantly, the staff that you're going to meet today hope to get to know you so that when we get together in those critical incidents, those powerful words that you will be able to share will save someone's life and improve the quality of life in Ohio. So I would ask you to, as much as you can, enjoy this time in your life, although you have a lot of long hours, a lot of stress. People's lives literally depend upon what you say and how you say it. If you don't believe that, I think you're going to see some examples of where that can be demonstrated to you. But I would also ask you not only to enjoy this time in your life, but ask yourself if this is your purpose. If at this time in your life, this is your opportunity to fulfill your purpose. And I think most of you will see not only is it an exciting career and an exciting opportunity for you, but you do have an opportunity to fulfill your purpose. Before we begin the actual program, we do have another welcome, a special message, a video message that I would like to play now. And again, thank you for attending and welcome to the Ohio Department of Public Safety.
Good morning, and thank you so much for driving in today for this event. You're here in this room because of your commitment to the people of Ohio. Day in and day out, Ohioans are depending on you to convey timely and key messages, especially in times of crisis. I especially know how busy you've been as we've embarked on big changes over the past 4 years, and by now, you know we're not the type of administration that kind of takes our foot off the gas. With your help, we've made a lot of progress, we've gotten a lot done, but make no mistake, we've got more work to do, and we're going to keep fighting, of course, for a stronger Ohio. I want you to work together. I challenge you to work together, to collaborate with your fellow agencies and make a difference in the lives of citizens. After all, when our agencies collaborate and work as one, our citizens are not only better informed, but more important, they're safer. Hey, think outside the box. It's okay. Try new things. Don't feel constrained by the ways of the past. We do not punish change or innovation. When someone tells you, well, that's how it's always been done around here, push back. You don't have any fun doing it the same way over and over again. Figure out innovative solutions. The taxpayers deserve the best out of each one of us, and I know you're each up to this task. And beyond that, as you bring about change, you will feel a real kind of a spring in your step as a result of being a change agent. Learn something today. Ask questions and have a great symposium.
Okay, our next speaker is John Keeling. John Keeling is the Deputy Director of Communications for John Kasich. He has been part of the Kasich team since February 2011 and focuses on messaging, direct media, and research on behalf of the administration. Prior to Governor Kasich's office, Keeling spent 10 years in Washington, D.C., working for Congressman Pat Tiberi as a political appointee in President George W. Bush's Department of Education, and as a communication consultant for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Please join in welcoming John Keeling.
Hello. The morning shift is never easy. All right. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to you folks a lot about the digital side of things. This is a bit of a challenge in itself in that I guarantee there are some in this room that scoff at the digital side of things, never maybe have seen a tweet, and then there's folks on the other side that are probably looking at their Facebook analytics for their page as we speak. So, I'm going to be, try to, hit the middle. Not too many of the annoying buzzwords that come with this side of things. First, there are a lot of ways of talking about this kind of communication. One of the most annoying to me is when folks call it new media. It's not new anymore. I don't know about you folks. I was on Facebook in 2006. I sent my first tweet in probably 2009, and there are folks that have been doing it much longer than that. It's not new anymore. This is the reality. This is what people are using. This is what people are doing. Other folks call it social media. Yeah, I think that technically works. It's a social way of bringing people together. I guess that's fine. I prefer something different. Direct media. This is digital communication is something that I guarantee a lot of the communication professionals that are in this room that have been doing this a lot longer than me would have killed for years ago, when the only way to really communicate to your audience, whoever that may be, was through the media or through other more difficult alternatives where your message is filtered, where your entire message doesn't get out. Instead, through direct media, through a multitude of mediums, you're able to hit your audience directly with the exact message you want them to hear. And that's an incredible opportunity, one we hope everybody's able to take advantage of. Direct media is also just one tool in the tool belt. It's not the only tool. Far too often, it's much more so outside of government. I've seen this, where digital communication is, the entire communication strategy. That doesn't work, obviously. You guys know that. But then on the other side, there are folks, especially in government, where some refuse to really use it at all. And by doing so, you're really missing an incredible opportunity, one that needs to be used, one that needs to be really utilized, because your audience, whether they know it or not, whether they like it or not, they're eager, they need to hear what you have to say directly. Why? And that's because of this. 30% of adults get their news, all of their news, from Facebook. This is the reality these days. And that's, whether we like that or not. A lot of us pine for the age of newspapers going back, but that's not the way it is anymore. This is where you get your message these days. And anybody that has, their own Facebook page, when you look on that news feed, you're not seeing paragraphs of articles. You're seeing short, concise messages that are informing you what's going on in your friends' lives, in the news, wherever. So who exactly is your audience? When we're taking advantage of direct media, we need to know exactly who we're speaking to. In the governor's office, that is easy for us. It's Ohioans. It's everybody. We don't really have to worry about breaking it down into segments in the ways many of you have to. So who do you want to be sure sees your tweets, your Facebook posts, your YouTube videos, your Instagram pics? Who do you want to make sure sees that? Obviously, there's constituents in your county, in your local community, in your issue area. Those are the folks, sure, absolutely, you want to hit. But it goes beyond that. It goes to the stakeholders. Who are, is there, do some of your local fire departments in your county have Twitter feeds or Facebook pages? Is there a trade association that really utilizes direct media as much as possible? Are you following them? Are you interacting with them on Twitter, on Facebook? Are you seeing what they're having to say so you can shape your own message? Are there key staff that are within those organizations that utilize direct media? If so, make sure you're engaging with them, following them, so they can follow you back and see what you have to say. It's a really huge opportunity to take advantage of those folks and what their reach really is. Then there also is a different audience. It's just as important. And this is journalists, media. What I want to really highlight is this. You probably can't read it that well. This is the percentage of journalists who use this regularly. Right here it says microblogs, which is pretty much Twitter. More than 50% of journalists regularly use Twitter. So that is an audience you need to hit, especially in what we do. I guarantee this number's a lot higher. So please make sure you're engaged on Twitter, because that's where you're going to get your reach, especially with journalists. Why? Because they're checking it for breaking news. They're checking what other organizations do. But third right here, finding ideas for stories. Now, you might be sending out press releases. You might be making calls, pitching stories. But if maybe they're seeing a different angle on a story through a tweet that you guys might push out, or an infographic that you guys push out. Or maybe they're seeing something that you sent out and is, caught fire. Maybe there are a bunch of retweets. People are talking about it, asking what it really means, trying to learn more. And then they recognize that and say, oh, maybe I need to write a story about it. And then they call you. So there are real opportunities there that I really hope you all take advantage of. Now, we all have limited resources within each of our offices. Some of you may have the resources to have one dedicated direct media staffer that can focus all their energy on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and really just dominate it. And that's awesome. Good for you. But I'm guaranteed the vast majority of folks in here, it's like number 17 on your job description. Okay? And it's really, really hard to find time to make this happen, but it's essential that you do. So, how do you prioritize? What do you focus on? Well, more people. Your constituents are on Facebook, but the media is on Twitter. Okay? So, figure out who your audience is and prioritize those two from there. There's actually something else I neglected to put on here that is very important. That's something we've been using a long time, longer than this, and that's email. A lot of you folks have email lists based on your issue where folks have, either signed up for newsletters or, written in just asking a question. Email addresses are incredibly valuable. They allow you, in a crisis situation, not so much, but they allow you to really send a regular message to folks monthly, however often you really want to do it. And really, it's just another avenue to reach people that I think needs to be utilized. So no matter the medium, though, quality and value in each one of your tweets, Facebook posts, whatever, quality and value are the most important by far. Now, this is the opposite of quality and value. If people are on Facebook, you probably see this kind of what's called clickbait all the time. The most amazing thing you'll ever see, but only if you click this. It's ridiculous, and it's sort of the old type of new media where all that mattered is click-throughs, where people click on something and then that website gains ad revenue because they had 17 different pop-ups happen when you clicked on that. That is not what we do. We don't have anything that is advertised. We don't worry about revenue. We worry about quality. Chartbeat is an analytics company, getting pretty big. They had a study that showed, on average, most readers spend fewer than 15 seconds actively on a page. That means you don't have time to really communicate a large substantive message when it comes to direct media. That doesn't mean you don't, attach links to your tweets and posts, Facebook posts, but it does highlight that when you're doing this kind of thing, you want to keep it simple, to the point, show quality and value efficiently and effectively. Use the tool we're given and provide the best information as we can. One thing I've come to find in working in the governor's office, we used to, when I first started, one of the things I figured would be a big hit all the time are YouTube videos. Because of this, that doesn't really work, I found. People don't have the 2 to 3 minutes, can you believe it, to really spend and focus and watch a YouTube video. They're too long, and unfortunately, much more often than not, government doesn't have the resources to really to make something like a YouTube video special and eye-catching, because that takes money and it takes time, and much more often than not, that's not what we have. The other thing that does make a good YouTube video, though, is the content. If there's conflict, that tends to be the most interesting thing to folks. I imagine many folks probably haven't seen this, but Governor Christie in New Jersey always got tons of YouTube hits because he always posted these videos of town halls where he's pretty much bickering with other people, and people love that. But that's the kind of thing that really worked. So instead of YouTube videos, we transitioned to something that I've talked to a few of you folks in this room I recognize about, and that is infographics. This is something we try to use heavily in the governor's office. This is one we put out about a month ago. It's simple, it's straight to the point, it conveys a message we're trying to really gather, and it's probably something you folks might look into after this, because that's not a bad salary. This is the value, this is the less than 15 seconds. Do it simply, keep it easy to understand, this works. And it doesn't take a lot of training. I taught myself how to make things like this. It's not hard. There's free versions of Photoshop that I just, experimented, tried new things, tried to see what really worked. And what I found is this kind of structure has really helped. Something also beyond, the straight up text is pictures of what's, this, when I say it, it sounds so simple. Like it's almost like it's obvious. But posting pictures, especially on Facebook, it gets folks more engaged. Because think about it, when you're on your Facebook page, if you're on your Facebook page, when you're scrolling down, all you see is text, 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 text. But then a picture pops up, that's going to catch your eye. Okay, that's going to give your audience those few seconds to really figure out, oh, there's that message they're trying to convey. Because after all, content is king. It doesn't matter, your budget or how beautiful your video is or how much time was spent on an infographic. What matters is the message, what you're trying to convey right there. So when you're traditionally using direct media, focus on that easiness, that effectiveness, that efficiency. Provide value, something easy to understand and something that catches their interest. And remember, direct media is not Shakespeare. It's not even a 500-word op-ed. It's something that conveys a single message and does it effectively. This is a tweet, transition more to the crisis communication side of things. This is a tweet Governor posted when we were dealing with the Toledo water situation. We wanted to make sure people were aware that, one, the governor was on top of the situation, involved, engaged, but just as important, we utilized our assets. In this case, the Ohio EMA, who was doing a fantastic job of pushing out tweet after tweet after tweet, keeping people updated on the situation, what's going on in their community. Because people recognize, they don't follow the governor's Twitter feed to, see, 10 updates in an hour about the Toledo water situation. We recognize that. Instead, we referred folks to the Ohio EMA, and they did fantastic. They kicked ass on that. Beyond utilizing the assets within your community, where you're cooperating, you're retweeting each other, you're helping each other out by mentioning your folks in tweets and Facebook posts. Crises don't always happen between 9 and 5. Now, your digital media person might only have those hours, but you need a plan for what's to happen after and before those hours, okay? You need to know who that person is. You need to have an idea of exactly how that process is going to work, how that person that's responsible for pushing these tweets out, how they're going to do it. Do they do it on their phone? When the message is finalized, who do they make sure sees it a second time for quality control? Who's going to push this stuff out at 3 in the morning when, the vast majority of your constituents aren't really paying attention, but I guarantee the media is. Who's going to be that person? Who's going to be responsive? In the governor's office, we utilize direct media in more than just a, hey, this is what we're talking about way. It's also about engagement and paying attention to what's going on out there. I am, as much as I can, constantly monitoring Twitter to really see what folks are talking about. This isn't really job related, but it's sort of a good example of what I'm talking about. I remember a couple years ago, folks remember there was that earthquake that was sort of had the epicenter out in D.C. Shook the Washington Monument, and they had to fix it, all that kind of thing. I remember I was following Twitter at that exact moment, and a bunch of my old buddies in D.C., folks I follow in D.C., were, exclaiming on Twitter, "Oh my God, what was that? My pen just rolled on my desk," whatever. And, I was trying to figure out, what the heck are they talking about? And just a few seconds later, and I swear to God, our office up on 30th floor of the Rife Center started swaying just a tiny bit, enough that I could notice it. And some friends of mine over in the roads, which is even taller, felt it too. And that just shows, if you're paying attention and really following what's going on, there might be breaking news that you guys hear before a 911 call is made. So if you're paying attention, you can catch something and get ahead of it before any other folks can. And beyond the breaking news side of things, it's also a way of really seeing what folks are talking about. Far too often in this job, we get so involved and engaged in what we're doing ourselves and what our task is at hand, and we're not paying enough attention to what people are talking about, what's their concern, what's going on in the community, what people are annoyed with that we can fix. So if you are following the right folks, the right stakeholders on Twitter, if you're following the right buzzwords on Twitter, then you're going to be able to catch a good idea of what folks are talking about. One of the things I have on my desktop, there are a bunch of different mediums for this, but something called Hootsuite, which guys in my office like to call the Matrix, because it's like 5 columns across my computer screen. I can follow, the first one is everybody I follow, then there are keywords for CASIC, and there are keywords for all other kinds of things that I can always be monitoring what people are saying about those keywords. And it's really helpful to get an idea of what people are talking about, so we know what to be ready for. You're doing it wrong if. Now, this could probably be about 14 slides, but I'll try to keep it to just this. One of the things that's sort of pet peeve of mine is you're doing it wrong if your tweet and your Facebook posts are exactly the same. If you're just going to using one little app or something, Hootsuite, and you're just typing it in once and it's automatically uploading to Twitter and it's automatically uploading to Facebook, you're doing it wrong. You need to be typing it out, a specific message for Twitter, a specific message for Facebook. Now, don't get me wrong, there are definite times where, going back to simplicity, effectiveness, value, quality, that, less than 140 characters works really well for both Twitter and Facebook. But much more often than not, that's not true. Facebook allows you more space than Twitter, more than 140 characters. So take advantage of that. Massage your message a little bit more. Again, it's not Shakespeare, it's not a 500-word op-ed, but it gives you a little bit more room to really communicate your message. Another thing is, oftentimes when people use these little apps to automatically upload, if it's more than 140 characters, it looks fine on Facebook, but only half your message really posts to Twitter. So people get confused. They don't really see exactly what the heck you're talking about. So don't do that. You're doing it wrong if you're the only one who sees the message before it goes out. Never be the only person that sees the message before it goes out. In our office, Governor wants something tweeted out, we draft it, we make sure a couple other folks see it, we make sure that people are reviewing something no matter what. And that's even in a crisis. One of the worst things that can happen in a crisis is if you guys share the wrong information. Or even just something embarrassing. What if there's a weird typo of some sort that just looks horrible? Make sure that you are not the only one doing this. You're doing it wrong if you treat direct media as simply another way to transmit your press release. Again, I see this far too often. Just, here's our latest press release link. You know, people don't care. Nobody's going to click on that. Instead, take that press release and find a way to turn it into 2 or 3 tweets, but individual tweets that make sense on their own. That's the way to really make this happen. You're doing it wrong if you're not engaged. This goes back to a little bit of what I was talking about, making sure that you're aware of what people are talking about. And that's the same thing. If you're not paying attention, you're doing it wrong. Don't be afraid to fail, though. There are all kinds of new mediums of direct media that are out there that are happening all the time. There's one, some of you might have heard of, Snapchat, that, you know, tons of teenagers and folks are, even some politicians are starting to use. I don't really see the value in it, but there might be something out there that you think really works. So don't be afraid to try it. Just make sure you're paying attention and gauging whether it works or not. That being said, don't screw up. This goes back to the quality control. You know, no matter what, the worst thing you can do in direct media, something you cannot take back, is a tweet or a Facebook post. Because I guarantee there's somebody out there that is dying to see you guys screw up. And as soon as that tweet or Facebook post pops up on their screen, they've got it screen capped and they're sending it to their media friends and they're making fun of you and it's embarrassing and it's horrible and it's never happened to me. All right. You know, finally, and this is more of the message to the folks that don't really utilize these things. The time is now. People are using this. They're using it a lot. And you're missing a huge opportunity if you're not taking advantage of it. Each of your agencies, I swear to God, they have something to say. There are people that still come to me that are, you know, state agency communication directors that say, I don't think it really translates for what we're doing. No, I guarantee at least Twitter does, okay? At least Twitter does, because there is a media out there that wants to hear what you have to say. So take advantage of it. Take advantage of talking to your stakeholders on Facebook. The opportunity is there. You just need to take it. I hope that's long enough. That's it for me. But if you guys have any questions right now, I'd be happy to take them. Anybody? Everybody knows everything about direct media now. Fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, and you know, fortunately, it's unfortunate because I don't really have an answer for that because the governor never gets negative feedback on Facebook. So, you know, it's our policy in our office that, you know, as long as folks aren't swearing or being profane, you know, we leave everything up. That's our policy. But you know, you folks are more than allowed to monitor it, you know, the way your own office policy handles it. You know, it's hard sometimes because, you know, you're seeing these things that people are blatantly lying, and it's really, really annoying. You know, one of the things we've bounced around in our office is, you know, getting a Facebook page for our Office of Constituent Affairs where they would be responsible for responding. I think we might have a unique situation in the governor's office where that would open a bit too much of a Pandora's box. But I think a lot of you folks that, you know, are in smaller agencies, I think taking advantage of your ability to just respond and say, that's not true, here's the data that shows it, and handling it thus so, it's fine. Now the profane stuff, ban them, okay? That's unnecessary, it's ridiculous, and it's not right. So get rid of them. Any other questions? Yeah. 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 That, you know, that's one probably I should have included. Vine and Instagram both have these video capabilities. Vine, I think it's 5 seconds. 6 seconds, 6-second loops with audio, where if you can record, you can edit it in a way, so it's not going to be a straight 6 seconds if you want. And people think, how can I make 6 seconds show value? How can I, make, on Instagram it's 15 seconds. How can I make 15 seconds show value? The way we've used it in our office, we have used Vine it's more about showing more of the personal side of the governor or showing pride in Ohio. For example, I think one of the ones we did for Memorial Day, no, it was 9/11 commemoration, did an Instagram post of this beautiful flag set up in front of the State House. Because, what we wanted to show, there are tons of people that don't go to downtown Columbus every day. So we wanted to show, oh, wow, this is something cool that's happening in your state capital. Here's a video we took. So I split it into like 3 sections, posted it, and people found it really interesting. And that's the same kind of thing with Vine, too. I think another one I did was we were having a bill signing in the governor's office, and I took 3 shots because it was incredible. We were having maybe 8 bill signings that day, and when we usually do that, there are 8 large groups that come in for each one of those bill signings. So the governor's official office in the State House was just packed with people. I thought it'd be interesting. Again, a lot of people don't see this side of government and think it's sort of cool. So I took 2 seconds of outside the governor's office where there was the crowd. I took 2 seconds of me walking through the hallway, and then I took 2 seconds of the governor signing the bill. And, it sounds really simple, doesn't it? It sounds sort of dull in a way, but if you see it, people get engaged on that kind of thing, and they see a different side of government that they never really would have seen otherwise. So I do recommend taking advantage of that kind of thing. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there are moments, he was talking about, there are specific times, in their situation, a big rally. There are times, there's moments that you want to catch. And these 6 seconds will burst, or 15 seconds on Instagram, provide that opportunity. One other thing I neglected to mention, moving on from that, with Instagram, it's something we really like to use in our office to show more of the personal side of things with the governor, or the side that a lot of folks don't see. When it comes to posting pictures on direct media, you don't really do that much on Twitter. That doesn't really work. If you do it on Facebook, it looks like spam almost. But Instagram, people are going there for photos. They want to see pictures. So we utilize that to, depending on the governor's day, if he's got a few events, 2 or 3 pictures, him behind the scenes, or, talking to someone that isn't one of these, generic standing at a podium and talking pictures. It's a real opportunity to show the other side of what's going on in your office. So try to think creatively outside the box of ways that you can utilize that medium to really show something that people wouldn't have seen otherwise. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There's a standard OIT, Office of Information Technology policy that we follow, and it's the same one that's been around for years. I'd be happy to, if you want to shoot me an email, I can make sure that you get it. But there's nothing specific to the governor's office, that a policy in place that we really. There's the standard state policy that we have. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he's asking if there are some posts you might put out on direct media where there are things that you thought were going to totally blow up and things that fizzle. And yes, especially on Facebook. you're going to find this. And it's really frustrating at times. Facebook, they have their own algorithm program that filters, in a way, what people see on their news feed. And it's a mystery how that really works. One thing that I do know, though, is I think about a month ago they announced they've got a new way of trying to do away with a lot of that clickbait that I showed you. So I have no idea how they're doing that. That's above my head. But there are definitely going to be those times. And that sort of speaks to the YouTube videos. How before I thought those were going to work, they don't. But this speaks to the point of keeping track of how you're doing. Go back and look at what are tweets that got a lot of retweets or got a lot of feedback. Look at your insights on your Facebook page to see how many folks really got engaged, how many folks shared this. And that'll help you gauge, oh, this is working, that's not. This is working, that's not.
Can you give an example of like something that you had no idea a lot of people were generating a lot?
I mean, sometimes it's the most simple things. Sometimes I talked a lot about the images tending to go viral, but there have been times where just a one-line message, like again trying to personalize the governor. He sees like a football game that just happened, and he's like, "Wow, look at that! That was a really cool game." Whatever. Those kind of things actually did really well. Now, I don't want you folks doing that because there's a big difference between, the governor's personal page and how he handles it like a individual and representing an agency. But it sort of speaks to taking advantage of seeing what's trending also in your community, in your field, and paying attention to that. If maybe there's something that is going on right now, and you're get involved with that conversation, that's much more likely, even if it's just one line, to really catch on. I think that's it. So thank you guys very much. If you have any questions, anything, shoot me a note. Happy to talk to you.
Okay, we are going to take a quick break. If you all can be back in here at 10 o'clock, we'll load up our next presentation.